Hello, my darling pop culture junkies, and welcome back. We have a lot of stuff to get into today. We are going to get into it. We are going to talk about some lowlights and some highlights, some dark moments and some fun moments. So, thank you for joining me on this ride.
On Thursdays.
Okay. I am not going to lie. I have dreaded this podcast. I dreaded this week's newsletter. I did not know how to start it. I didn't know how to have fun with it, whether I needed to have fun with it. You guys expect me to talk about pop culture. That's what I'm here to do. Pop culture, for the most part, is fun and sugary and sweet and silly. It can be dark at times, but it can also be really dark at times. And as I've said multiple times, both here in the newsletter, while we don't talk about Trump, we can't ignore politics entirely. Politics is pop culture. Pop culture is politics, especially in this moment in time. But this week in particular was tricky. I will say with the newsletter, for the first time that I can remember since I've been writing it for 8 years, which is nuts, I did not have any clue on Sunday night what I was going to write, not even an outline. I didn't even really have that much to talk about other than what we have at our sort of footsteps here, at our fingertips, which is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But I knew I wasn't going to, I'm not a political podcast or newsletter. I wasn't going to get into the ins and outs of it. I also didn't want to get into all of the virality around it in certain ways. So I certainly didn't want to talk about the hate on both sides. Let's be clear. I'm being honest here on both sides. I didn't want to get into the video itself, which, if you haven't seen, there's no need for people to see it, but it lives on the internet. It lives, from what I understand, on X for the most part. TikTok does not allow it. So there you go. People criticizing TikTok. They have some barometer for what is appropriate. But the video, and I mean high definition close up video of the very moment Charlie Kirk is assassinated, is alive and well and has millions upon millions of views on Twitter, aka X. And I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to show that. So I really struggled this week with the newsletter, what to make of it, how to even navigate it. There were some fun things that popped up on TikTok, which we will talk about because they're nice little escapes. But I made the title of this week's newsletter, Rainbows and Butterflies, with a picture of Baby Yoda, our icon. Ooh, I don't want to knock anything over. I'm going to knock it over. Yes, see, I have a lot of Baby Yoda because he is our icon. They, she, I don't know. Maybe there are no pronouns for Baby Yoda. But Baby Yoda was surrounded by a rainbow and lots of butterflies because that's what we needed. Just a little, for me, joy are rainbows and butterflies. Rainbows and butterflies when I just want to put my head in the sand and ignore what is happening around me. And I do want to say, I know there are a lot of people who love Charlie Kirk. And while I disagreed with many, many of the things that he said, you could not deny that this was a guy who had a big impact. And for better or for worse, I'm certainly not Ezra Klein. I am not agreeing with Ezra Klein's take on him doing politics the right way. But I see you. I understand why he meant something to you. I don't believe what he said was the same values as my values. I believe that men and women are equal. I believe that Black people and gay people and trans people and every person are equal. It's not this grandiose thing that I have a viewpoint on. I just do. But I see and understand that he was important to many people. And, I'm not belittling that. I just don't want to give it any more oxygen. I am not the political journalist to talk about the ins and outs, the rights and wrongs. We want to talk about the other aspects of this moment in time. But I'm sad, and I am sad that we live in a moment. I'm sad that we live in this moment. I never thought I would think back to the 90s, to the days of like George W. Bush and Dick Cheney as adorable and a simpler time, but here we are. I'm sad that we live in a world where political violence, I mean, all violence is bad. Violence is violence. It should not exist. We have had violence since the beginning of time. We've had assassinations since, the form of democracy or even before that. But in 2025, it's shocking, right? I come from parents who lived and were very much active during the time that we had a lot of assassinations, whether it was JFK, his brother Bobby, Martin Luther King. We've had so many. And by the way, we had one last month in Minnesota that went fairly unreported comparatively to where we are today. I'm also sad that there are a lot of people, friends of mine, people I've loved and I respect, who don't see things the way I see them. And, I'm never asked for everyone to agree with everything, but when you're so divided in what you see versus what others see. So when I had friends who really went to judgment right from the moment Charlie Kirk was killed to say that it's always the left that brings violence, not the right. When A, that's not true at all. And B, we didn't even know what the story was at that moment. There were so many assumptions being thrown around and so many accusations. So that's troubling. And let's be clear, there are thousands of shootings a year. Yes, there have been some trans shooters. This person was not trans, but there have been some people who identify in the trans world. I think it was 5, which was unfortunately the last thing that I think Charlie was asked. 5 out of thousands. I'm sad that there's so many people who just have an opinion on how other people live that have no impact on their lives. So sad that there's so much hate against my friends who are trans and my friends who have children who are trans. And they're just living their lives, trying to live just like we all are. I am sad that there's hate about those who live in different lifestyles that do not impact others. I myself never thought I would be at the end of bias, but I'm a white woman, straight, privileged for sure. And I have been certainly recently on the other end of abuse for not being married and not having kids. So in the Charlie Kirk world and the J.D. Vance world and the Space Karen, aka Elon Musk world, I am either mentally ill or a hateful woman or the reason why there are problems in our society as a liberal woman who is not married and didn't have kids for whatever reason that may be. So I've been getting some pretty dark comments on my socials around that, which is very eye-opening to me to be on that side of things and actually quite helpful, I think, for me to even be more compassionate and empathetic to those who are getting hate for just being who they are and living their lives and not bothering anyone. So my point is, I wrestled with how to handle this. This is a really sad moment. We have a leadership, I should say, that is not about trying to unite a group of people, unite a country, but divide and cause more anger and hate and blame and accusations. You think about, regardless of their faults, and there were faults with Bill Clinton, and there were faults with George W. Bush, and there were faults with Obama. These were not perfect men by any means. but they certainly were unifiers as they were leaders. They didn't, not everybody agreed with them, but they were not trying to bait half of a population. And we have a leadership now that is very much in a war. It's us versus them. And that trickles down. But I also thought what I could bring to the surface in this podcast and what I tried to bring to the surface in the newsletter is something that has been weighing on me since this happened. I was actually in Utah when the Charlie Kirk news broke, that he had been shot. I didn't think it was going to end the way it did. The first news report I saw was that he'd been shot at, and then it got progressively worse. And then somebody sent me the video, did not know what I was getting into when I watched it. So I knew at that point, after seeing the video, that there was really no way that he was going to survive. But now that we do know about the shooter, we still don't know much, but we know enough to know there's this common thread that I see in these people, whether they're trans, whether they're gay, whether they're straight, whether they're white. They're generally always white for these types of things. Whether they come from good families, whether they come from money or they don't come from money, whether these were, incels or political, people protesting their politics, whatever it is, there is one common thread, and that is they live online. They live in online existence. They live in a room. They live on their gaming chair or whatnot. They live in front of a computer. They live in chat groups. Maybe they're gamers. And I say this, I started as a gamer. I started my career in gaming. I love video games, but I'm talking about the 90s. They were very different. But the gaming culture is obviously, it's so realistic. It does our brain in when you're playing these games. And again, I'm not saying this is video game problems, but when you take somebody who lives an entirely online life, isolated, if you will, has this big personality, different sort of life online than they do offline. They've become, maybe it talks about how he lived sort of far away from his community. He's been living in a different part of Utah, lived online. He's on Reddit. He's on all these forums. He's on social media, the social media discourse. He's on Discord, which is all about discourse. He's on Reddit. He's in probably other areas of the dark web I don't even want to know. There's an indoctrination that happens. And just like we've talked about in terms of the AI sort of craziness and the psychosis, it can happen. It can happen to the most loved child. It could happen to the most educated child if they are, struggling in some way with some sort of mental health, or just any person. I think I say struggling. I think all of us can, have the potential of a struggle, no matter what our background is or what our lifestyle is. And you put anybody in that environment and they can be susceptible to a lot of indoctrination. And so this trend of living online, and I say why I struggle with this is because I've been in the tech world, love what I do in the technology world, know so many of the people who've built these technologies that are ubiquitous now, and have helped shine that light. And I've said it here before, where I really do believe, I really believe this in my heart, that we really felt that a connected world via social was going to be a better world. And it started that way. I mean, think about the Arab Spring and these people who didn't have rights, and they were able to fight back. People were able to see for the first time what it was like in different places, that they too could have a voice and they could speak up and they could have the courage and they could protest and they could take down these dictators. And there was so many beautiful things, and there's still beautiful things about social. We laugh, we see bunnies jumping on a trampoline. We collectively are united by, a cheating couple at a Coldplay concert. there are, not to say that's the highlight, it's lowbrow, but still it was something that we can all connect on. We get to watch Oasis or Taylor Swift on tour. If we can't afford to go to the concerts or don't have the time, we still get to experience it be through our friends or strangers' lens because they post a video, whether to TikTok or Instagram. It is such a beautiful thing, and it can be such a dangerous thing. And so I write a lot about it in the newsletter. I urge you, if you haven't read it, this week's was really, it was a very honest one for me, and it was a really impassioned one for me. So I think what we have to recognize is that we can't look at somebody as whether he's left or right. And I do think extremes, far left and far right, extremes are extremists. And we are dealing with a lot of people with loud voices on both sides who are extremists. And this level of hate, this level of vitriol, this level of blame, this level of they. Funny how we're dealing with a group of people who are very much anti-trans or anti-pronouns. It's he or she, but they sure love a they today. They love a they. And what I mean by that is there was one shooter. There is one person who pulled that trigger. There was one man, young man, who made that decision. That was a he. There was no they. There is no conspiracy. This was not a fatwa. This was not a organized coup. This was one person. This was a he. And I find it very ironic, probably the most hypocrisy we've seen now in a world of hypocrisy, when you've had the right, and even my friends, free speech, Elon, Space Karen, free speech. Of course, free speech. We can say what we want, free speech. I can say what I want, free speech. Warriors. Also, anti-cancel culture. How dare you left people, you getting everyone canceled. They so what, they raped somebody, or so what, they killed somebody. You want to cancel everybody. In the last few days, my Lord, these people who've spoken out about Charlie Kirk, now offensively, I'm not going to deny that. I find it offensive to celebrate somebody's death, even if you disagreed with them. But freedom of speech, they have the right. They have the right to say it. I went after and reported to every social platform people who were celebrating the death of a woman who was shot in New York. People were celebrating it because she was Jewish. There was so much anti-Semitism. I mean, vile. And I reported it. And I was told by X and by Instagram, sorry, we don't see any offenses here. Go back to it. When I talked about it on social media, people told me that I should get a life, that I was a liar, that I was making this up for attention. And now we have those very same people who are making lists, including leadership, lists of people who criticize Charlie Kirk, all the way from the extreme to mocking his death, which is horrible, to outspoken people who said, I'm not going to mourn him. I may not believe somebody should be shot, but I'm not going to mourn him. They are making lists. They are calling their employers. They are working to get them fired, whether it's Laura Loomer, whether it's the Vice President of the United States. So the hypocrisy is real. What I did talk about in the newsletter specifically regarding this was Erica Kirk, because I'm going to give her some grace as somebody who lost people very close to me and unexpectedly. When my mom died, she died while it was an illness. It was still unexpected. I don't know if you can ever expect it. My dad died unexpectedly. We make decisions. You're not of your sound mind. You lash out. You have rage. You are looking to blame. You're looking to make bargains. You're doing all of the things. It's very, very, inherent to grief. But she did get to another level. And whether you approve or not of her selfies and videos of her in the coffin and her embalmed husband, and it may not be to your liking, I reserve judgment. I hold grace for her in that moment. But she did make a speech. And while parts of that speech were beautiful and talking about her children, and you can hear and see the pain, and she's paying homage to her husband's team of people that work for him on the show and standing by his desk and his chair, She then turned it into a rallying cry, and she made it not about not about him, the man who shot her husband, but a they. And she became a voice to really get the world, to turn this into a marketing opportunity for the party, for Turning Point, the company. And social media jumped at making the comparisons, which I don't think are wrong, of Serena Waterford, who is from, if you're not familiar, The Handmaid's Tale. So let's just take a little look at Serena Waterman to get an understanding of her personality, and then just some of the social posts that people put out there that showcase the similarities, if you will.
You will stay here, and you will not leave this room. Do you understand me? Do you understand me?
Yes, Mrs. Waterford.
Things can get much worse for you.
They should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it.
I think I've seen this film before, so I'm leaving at the side door.
She is. It is like that. Now, you have to watch the series all the way through. Things don't turn out well for Serena. Serena does have an awakening at some point, but after a great deal of damage to others and herself. But it is a moment in time that I am just sad about, because families are being broken up, friendships are ending, there's distrust. There's this social media trend going around, which is the great unfriending, which they're, all using the same sound, but here's just a couple to give you an example.
Oh no, there's Melanie. That's a shame, she was really nice. Oh no, there's Melanie. That's a shame, she was really nice.
Do with it as you will. I am trying my best, but anybody that is really intolerant, I should say, so I'm trying not to be intolerant, but intolerant of, look, if you feel some way about trans in sports, right? I understand that's tricky, and you have kids and your kid lost, and that is one that I don't know how you navigate. It's a very tricky thing. But do I believe that people who live how they should, how they want to, and if a child has shown signs of being a different gender, parents willing to work with them and give them that. And most people that I know who are trans really didn't indicate to themselves until they were late teens or at least over 18. So I don't understand the judgment and the hate, and why with such a small percentage of the people in this world, we are making everything about them. So my heart goes out to my friends in the trans community who are trans, who have trans friends, who have trans family members, who have trans children. You are loved, and we're all fighting the fight. But I want to move on to some other things because I think this heaviness is living with all of us. I think this feeling of just that nervousness, that angst is just running through our veins, and that what is next, that sort of sky is falling. And, sometimes social media can give us an escape, but it also can be a real terror. So keep in mind, if you have little kids, I think adolescence, which won big at the Emmys this weekend, which is very much about a young boy and what happens when this young boy was allowed to be online, had his own phone, and was indoctrinated with anti-woman stuff and the sort of incel ideology that led him to kill a girl. And they're young, they're kids. And the story is, it can happen. It does happen. These things are weapons. They really are. I'm like, ooh, what's on my phone? These things are weapons. They can be. So I don't want this to be a big downer. I really don't. But I do want to just point out that there are some guardrails that we can be putting into place right now, whether we want to or not. But to just know that there are people who think like you. And it's so nuanced, right? Like it's not like you fit into one bucket. And I think that's why I love TikTok. TikTok is one of those things that allows you to sort of just get your weird on. You get to laugh at silly things. And one of those silly things I will say is this skit. This creator has been well known. Like, in fact, during COVID, she did a lot of like the school, the nursery rhymes, and she would start singing it, and then she'd play another character, and it's like, oh, well, you know what that's about. And that's how I learned. I swear to God, it never dawned on me that this little pig went to the market. I thought that little piggy was going to the market to go shopping and then would come home with all of, no. This little piggy going to the market was going to get killed at the market. Like the darkness of these school nursery rhymes, like Rockabye Baby falling out of a tree. They're dark. The shit is dark, and it goes back to a different time. She was first sort of on the scene breaking that down for us. She now has this series that she's so smart, and it's gaining traction. She plays all the characters using the AI filters on TikTok, I think, unless she's using other things. And it's called 60 Somethings. And it's just basically like watching, I don't know, your favorite sort of, what was her name? Mrs. Roper from Three's Company, and others. Like, what she envisions is sort of 60 somethings, like they're in Long Island, they're having some problems, the different friends, the oi. And I'm showing you ones out of sequence. These, I'm just going to show you little snippets to give you an idea, but it is so fucking clever. No writers, no directors, no costumes. I mean, this is why Hollywood is probably having a moment. Just this woman, out of her own genius and using technology, created this sort of off-the-wall series, and it's gaining so much traction, and people are loving it, and it sparks joy. So take a look.
Knock, knock. Hey, Tina. Got your basil. Shoot. I just realized I left my burner on all night. Oh, wow. You grow this?
Did, yeah. Straight from Bobby's Miracle Garden.
Good for you, Bobby. Look, I'm going to make lasagna if you want to stay. You got to wait like an hour and 15 minutes, though.
Prime right up. It'll be all right. Hey, kids. How you doing? All right. Iced vanilla latte, oat milk, Louis Armstrong. What do you want? Yeah, Bobby. Is this some kind of joke you talking about me behind my back? We're joking with you. You're doing very good, Peter. All right, coffee, hot coffee, pie. Here, look at the menu. Tell me what you want.
The girl on here, Mackenzie Barman, who does the 60 somethings, we need to talk about her. She is the best thing that's on the internet, in my humble opinion. I have 15 years working in social media. 15, so that means before Instagram. And what she's doing with the 60 somethings is what is innovative right now on TikTok. She is creating literally a whole world, a whole TV show by herself. And I've been saying this for years, that social media is going to become so different over the next 5 to 6 years. It's going to become more like what your TV experience is, and also like more like what surveillance systems are, if that makes sense. So what I think is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years is like we're going to see an explosion of her type of content. Smart, witty, funny, TV show like content. And then we're also going to see kind of what Emma Chamberlain is doing with her sort of visuals of her doing nothing but us watching, almost like the Truman Show. I started this about Mackenzie. I also think Emma Chamberlain is ahead of the game. But Mackenzie, I just want to give her props because that show, if I missed like a line in the 60-somethings, I'm going back. I'm watching it again. It's absolutely genius. It's riveting. She's hilarious. And I love to see trends before they become like big trends. And this is going to be a big trend, trust me. I mean, I've given you no reason to like actually trust me, but like when it comes to social media, I can definitely see the future heading this way.
And then one more fun little series that's happening on TikTok that is sparking joy is an actual 60-something woman, I think. Her name is Donna Clements. I should get my glasses for this. And she has become known as the bedtime snack time lady. And she's precious and we love her. And it's based on sadness. So her husband died about 4 or 5 months ago. And she always had this tradition with him is at bedtime, they would have snacks and then we'd talk about their day or talk about what's on their mind. And they would have that. Since he died, she has really missed that routine, that tradition. And so she found doing it on TikTok with her followers, which have grown and grown and grown, has brought her joy and some peace and some comfort. And she has this ability to connect with an audience. So she talks about her snacks and then she talks to us. So here's just a couple of examples.
Anyway, y'all, I have ached today to talk to my husband. Those of y'all that have been through this, I know that it's just normal that you just have days like this where if I could just talk to him for 30 seconds, just, hey, how you doing? I love you. I miss you. My heart could just be healed today. And I know that that cannot happen, but I've ached for it, just literally. But tonight for my snack, I'm having saltine crackers. There's nothing like a saltine cracker. And this is from my childhood. My mama used to do this.
And I love her. And the reactions have been great. I mean, here is just one. There are countless, but here is one person's take on it, which I agree with.
Miss Donna on TikTok. My God, I'm literally about to throw up. Oh my God. Whew. Miss Donna on TikTok, who does bedtime snack time. Today's her birthday. And she got a special box from Aldi. I'm literally in hysterics. She got a special box from Aldi. And she was just crying. She was just crying, opening her box. She said, I don't even know who told him it was my special day. Had just full of snacks for bedtime snack time. Gift cards, a thing to hold her quarter. I can't breathe. And of course, she's a Leo. We love Miss Donna.
And then just to close the loop on that, here is her TikTok with Aldi, which the creator referenced that she loved when she got the Aldi gift box. It was her birthday. And it's so clever. So this is just another way that brands are being really smart. Their social media manager were able to spot a trend and spot that she was getting a lot of her snacks at Aldi. And so Aldi sent this gift package. It just happened to be on her birthday. And the joy, she feels so loved and seen. By the way, the this woman still has her parents. Like, how cool is that? She, a lot of times, was coming home from her parents' house. She's visiting with her mom and dad. But here she is opening up her Aldi box.
Is it my first thing ever to get in the mail? But also, today's my birthday. So it's my first birthday box to open. And I understand that they went to special trouble to get it here on my birthday. I don't know, a little birdie must have told them it was my birthday. But so thank you, Aldi. You're already my fave. So, I mean, who doesn't love Aldi?
And then I just want to, there's so many other fun things. I want to close out on the Fox News guy because what the fuck? Like, seriously, what the fuck? I don't even remember what his name is. But I don't want to know. I feel like if I say his name, it's like saying Beelzebub or Beetlejuice. I don't want to say it. But if you haven't by now seen this viral clip, buckle up. And if you have seen it, just watch it again. Now, let me just set the stage for what you're about to see. You have 3 people on a Fox morning show. It happened last week. By the way, it took 3 days for there to be real outrage. It was the internet that finally got a hold of the clip and was like, what the fuck is going on? It took 3 days for this motherfucker to apologize. And by no means did Fox fire him, reprimand him, or even make themselves a statement. So 3 of them are talking about, and it's really this one guy, journalist, who is talking about the ways for which we can enforce homeless people with mental health issues to be checked. Basically, you have to go through this, and if you don't go through these checks, if you don't get yourself looked at, if we don't go through whatever, you're going to be thrown in jail. At which point, this motherfucker decides to just with ease, didn't even bat an eye, didn't even hesitate, was like, or we, inject them and euthanize them and kill them. Thank you. Watch. I'm not making it up. I'm not exaggerating. Here you go.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this. We're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
Like what? I mean, some of the responses are great. Thankfully, we had people absolutely outraged. And I don't mean fake outrage, real outrage. And then you tell me what you think his apology was like 3 days later. I mean, he couldn't give a fuck. But here it is.
In the morning, we were discussing the murder of Irina Zaruska in Charlotte, North Carolina, and how to stop these kinds of attacks by homeless, mentally ill assailants, including institutionalizing or jailing such people so they cannot attack again. Now, during that discussion, I wrongly said they should get lethal injections. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator did in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people deserve our empathy and compassion. Lawrence, back to you.
Okay. I mean, I think we need a restart. Just like this creator, which is maybe my favorite TikTok of the week, I will give him all of the brownie points. I think we all need to try this. This is what we need to do. Earth needs to unplug. Check it out.
Guys, have we tried unplugging the country and plugging it back in? Or putting it in a bag of rice or something like that?
Okay. Well, with that, my darlings, my last little fun snippet. If you missed the most recent South Park, they did take the Charlie Kirk South Park that went out, I think, earlier this summer, where they made fun of Charlie Kirk, which, incidentally, Charlie Kirk loved, commented on, and shared and talked about, where they refer to Charlie Kirk as he was the master debater. Get it? He's a master debater, but it was all this master debating.
If anyone around here is going to be a master debater, it's me. So let's go. Who wants to debate the master debater? Let's go. You right there.
But in the most recent South Park, or the one that came out a week or two ago, the premise was Labubu. And Labubu as a satanic ritual. Labubu turns into Donald Trump. We're not going to show that part. The Labubu has hit South Park. It brings me joy because many of you heard about Labubu first through the newsletter or through the podcast. And now Labubu is living his best life on South Park. Here is a funny clip to close us out.
Labubu, labu labu, labubu, labubu, labu labu, labubu.
Labubu, labubu. It's in your heads. It's going to be in your heads forever. With that, thank you for sitting through this very, cathartic podcast. It took a lot for me to get here. I really debated. I really wanted to maybe tell Ethan, my producer, that we might have to skip this week, but I persevered, and I thank you guys because you are really healing to me, and the feedback you continue to give me means a lot. And thank you, as always, Live Nation, for making this podcast possible.